Hello and welcome to Insight. On this episode of the program, we take a look at Nigeria's level of preparedness to tackle the COVID-19 infection as the novel coronavirus makes its way eventually into the country. Well, it's no longer news that the coronavirus is just about in every part of the world. I mean, except for the Antarctica. And here in Nigeria, or here in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria became the first country with a confirmed case following the arrival of an infected Italian into our shores. How ready are we as a country to tackle these new threats? Are we going to leverage on the success of the Ebola fight a couple of years back to win this current war? Well, these are some of the issues we will be taking a look at on this episode of the program. I have my co-presenter here with me, Elizabeth. I guess you're eager to talk about how the media perhaps would play the role of a crusader in the current fight against coronavirus in Nigeria.
Yeah, of course. China to Africa, Asia to Africa rather, the gap is quite huge. And then we understand that most people do not really understand the mode of transmission. And this is very important. Now, what will the media be doing? Will they help sensitize Nigerians on the mode of transmission? How do we curb stereotyping? That's another big problem. Because now Nigerians see foreigners, they're like, oh, he has the virus, which is not true. It's beginning to generate concern, and we need to pay attention to it. So what will the media be doing in terms of sensitization? Are we going to leave it to just features, jingles, or we just talk about it? How do we ensure that Nigerians really understand how it has been transmitted and what to be done, what to do should someone have the virus?
Well then, let's just get started with the discussion on how the authorities intend to curb the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria. Joining me to discuss the issue are two gentlemen. Dr. Austin Ajogu is a public health physician. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Dr. Etang Philip Omini is a former national president, Medical Imaging Society of Nigeria. Welcome to Insight.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, and I'll begin with you, Dr. Austin. Nigerians are clearly anxious and worried about the infection we have on our hand right now, the coronavirus infection in Lagos. Should we as a country, and should the health authorities, even though they've said they are on ground and that they are prepared, should we be prepared for a case or two, or should we be prepared for the worst possible scenario?
I don't know how many cases will come up in Nigeria, but I think that at this point in time, it's not a point to panic. The NCDC, that is the coordinating agency in the country, through the Federal Ministry of Health, they are on top of their game. Before the outbreak in Nigeria, there have been this COVID-19 preparedness and response team that has been managing all the sensitization, all the activity that has been ongoing before this outbreak, before this Italian came on board. And since he came, it was because of the preparedness, sensitization. That was why the health workers, the clinicians in the company, that was how they were able to detect that, look, we might be dealing with COVID. And they put a call to the organizing agency in Lagos that, look, can we screen this guy to know what he's having? Because from all the case definition, the clinical science fit into the case definition, and that was why they made the call.
So our reaction was swift, was prompt.
Exactly, it was swift.
On point.
Exactly, it was on point. It was on point because of the preparedness, because of all ongoing activities, all the months since the outbreak started from China.
Dr. Etang, I'll come to you. In being proactive now, how expansive can our level of preparedness be? Actually, should we perhaps, like I just asked Dr. Austin here, be prepared for the worst possible scenario?
Yeah, at this instance, because it's a new disease that just came to the world. it threw the entire world into fear, confusion, and anxiety. So Nigeria cannot be an exception. But so far, I think Nigeria has shown enough commitment to show that we are really prepared for the worst case scenario. Because without the without the sensitization, it wouldn't have detected this the case we have now. But be that it is may, you can't say that may be the last case we'll ever have, or we won't see it again, because people will keep traveling and coming. Even that one we have seen, I think we are still investigating contact he has made and where he has gone. So I believe with the sensitization and their level of preparedness, we are ready for it.
Gentlemen, let's stay on the issue of two critical issues or key critical factors that impact on the spread or could impact on the spread of the coronavirus. There's transmissibility, there's severity. The response plan that we have in place right now, which the Nigerian Center for Disease Control is coordinating, how does it react, or how does it factor in the issue of transmissibility and severity?
The severity is when the person gets the disease. Then transmission is the mode of transmission. For now, the mode of transmission is person to person. It started from animal, but what has sustained the transmission is person to person. Because it's just like any other flu that we are having. If you cough, if you sneeze, the people around you could get it. Okay? And that is why we are educating the public who should imbibe coughing etiquette. You don't just come in the public and cough like that. You don't just come out in the public and sneeze. There's a way to, if you want to cough, just flex your elbow and cough away. Take it away from other people. And if you're having flu, use a one-off handkerchief or one-off tissue. You clean and throw away. I remember when Ebola came, there was one thing that came up. People were washing their hands. We are not washing our hands again. Even in some organizations, you are going in, you walking with whatever you are carrying, you walking. The idea thing is that as you are walking in, you wash your hands, clean your hands, and go in under a running water. Wash your hand and go in. When you finish, also wash your hand and walk away. So whatever you are coming in with, we stay in the water washes away. You go in so that you don't even always carry another thing from the organization you are going out, and wash away and walk away. So hand washing is very critical at this point in time. Wash as many as you can. If you don't have available water around, always go with your hand rub, alcohol-based hand rub. So that when you finish, you can, whatever you do, you can use it and rub on your hands, pending when you go near a running water to wash your hand.
Another critical area is the area of contact mapping and tracing, and we've seen that already playing out. Okay, with the Italian that was infected, I think the authorities are actually in the process of, I think they've already mapped and traced those he came in contact with.
Exactly.
How should we, or the authorities rather, now take that? How does that factor in as part of the response plan, Dr. Etang? How critical is that in order for us to contain coronavirus?
Because, the most important thing is prevention. When you're able to put in measures to prevent getting in contact with the virus, it's better than having the virus and then looking for ways to quarantine the person and then ways to treatment. For now, there's no treatment.
It does seem like it will be a very expensive process.
Yeah, that's where I even want to go to. Health is not cheap.
Contact tracing is very essential in containing the disease.
The disease. Yeah.
Do you understand? It's part of surveillance to also help with the disease. So whoever had any contact with that in this case need to be traced, identified, and investigated. Okay? And you have to monitor the person for the period of the incubation period.
That's the 14 days period.
Exactly. Yes. So that as you are monitoring, the person is checking his or her temperature morning and night. If he's developing any signs or symptoms, the person can commence treatment, because the earlier you start treatment, the better the outcome.
Dr. Austin, you're privy to some information that we don't have. Are you satisfied with the level of contact tracing?
Yes, I am satisfied because all those people that had a contact with index case were all identified, both in Lagos and Ogun State. And they are following them up. They are monitoring all of them. All of them. So I'm satisfied we're able to get all of them. They were able to get all those that had contact with the index case. And it's a good sign that the surveillance system is working.
Dr. Etang, for the purposes of emphasis, let's just educate our viewer and bring up some of these symptoms that we've talked about. You know, please just educate us, take us through some of these symptoms that a likely or possible patient can exhibit within the period, and when such a patient can become symptomic.
And we have said it, fever.
Okay.
Fever and up to a point maybe breathlessness, because the virus is fibrotic. So once it's fibrotic, it kills the lung stops working. Then there will be breathlessness. Then there will be fever, high-grade fever. That's why we say that at every point of entry at airports, there should be this infrared thermometer.
There's already infrared thermometer at all the points of entries. They are checking everybody.
To check everybody
that is coming into the country.
On a lighter note, I have seen some of these symptoms, and there's this tweet or something, a post out there that's been making the round, that some of these symptoms, and like I said, on a lighter note, are symptomic of somebody who does not have money in his pocket. Somebody who does not have money gets fever sometimes, gets dizzy sometimes. I mean, there are lots of facts out there.
Doesn't mean what you have to.
I just said on a lighter note.
You don't have money. You won't run to travel to China and then come back.
So that's why we need to really spell it out, and when a patient can actually become symptomic within the period, and also within the period such a patient can get symptomic. Dr. Hoxton, would you like to help us out there?
You know, as you know, as soon as the person starts having fever, it can transmit it to other person. As soon as the person starts, that's the period that you could spread it to other people. As soon as you develop high-grade fever, then cough and sneezing. Anybody around you within that perimeter could get it, and that is why we advocate that there should be cough etiquette. There should be sneezing etiquette. Okay. Wash your hands as often as possible. If you use tissue, it should be a one-off tissue and you throw away.
Well, why is the symptom more manifest in patients, in some patients or in most patients with underlying illness? And of course also in older patients as well. Is it a function of immunity?
Yeah, normally, yeah. Every as you grow old, as you get older, your immunity drops. What your immunity can contain is not what maybe 60 years, 70. That's why we even ordinarily we advise once you are 40, 50, you should always go for medical checkup, because you never can tell. Your body is prone to different ailments that you may not be able, your immunity cannot control.
Okay, it's also possible that we don't pray for this coronavirus to spread, not extensively. We hope that it stays with the one patient and then we're able to address that. But in an event where a local community, a health facility in a local community becomes the first responder in a case where a possible coronavirus case or infection case is brought to the public health institution in a rural community, and it becomes a first responder. At what point do we begin to think of test kits, having test kits at such centers at community level? Are we there yet?
You know, it is a new kind of virus that just came up. Work is ongoing. Research is ongoing. Even for vaccine. So as we begin to understand more about the disease, the organism, the disease, how it presents, then all those things, the vaccine and facility, the test kit, either rapid test kit or anything could be made available. But now we are still trying to understand the progression of the disease. Exactly. So as soon as we get that, every other thing will key in.
But we do have referral laboratories in parts of the country.
Exactly.
Yeah, we say that. Yeah.
We said we have reference labs that can detect it within 24 within 24 hours.
Don't forget, HIV started like before now. You have to travel for a long place before you get yourself tested for HIV. But now HIV is like you can get into any lab and ask for HIV and get tested. Just because it's a new disease.
Okay, let's talk about some aspects of the response plan currently in place now and take a look at our airports across the country. Are you satisfied with the level of checks being done by the port health authorities at our airports, for instance?
Yes, they are doing a fantastic job because they profile all the passengers that come into the country and check their temperature. So if there is any of them that comes with high-grade fever, they follow the person up. But the advice is that if you come in from any of those
affected countries,
and
you're not symptomatic,
you don't have any symptom yet, yes, we advise that you quarantine yourself for 14 days. Stay indoor for 14 days before you come out. Exactly. But if at the airport they discover that you already have high-grade fever, definitely we will just pick you up and quarantine you and test.
Until you have a clean bill of
test you, and until you know that you are not having the disease, then we can release you.
Part of the advice being put out right now is for people to avoid self-medication. How critical is that? Let's begin with Dr. Etang and then we'll come to you, Dr. Austin, so we can have him say something at least.
From onset, normal. If not now where the whole world is, like everybody's a Google doctor.
That's true.
Yeah. Self-medication is not good. Even apart from
coronavirus,
self-medication is not good.
But right now it becomes even more important.
It's more important to avoid self-medication. You might think you're having this little fever. You go and start treating malaria when it's actually not malaria. So self-medication is out of it completely.
Dr. Austin?
Self-medication is out of the place as far as this outbreak is concerned. And another thing is, let us read the correct information. There are a lot of misinformations out there. You could, if you open your phone, a lot of things coming. So you will have to ask experts, or you have your phone, you Google NCDC, you have all the information you need. You don't have to. Somebody will just test something to you and say, it's happening in Nigeria. No, you cause more panic. People will die before the COVID comes to them. It's not proper. Infodemics is not proper. That is not what we need now. We don't want people to panic. If you ask experts, ask your doctor, or you can Google NCDC website and get all the information you need about this COVID-19.
Yes, we have an infection right now.
Exactly.
Just one. An infection. It's not a crisis yet, or it's an emergency. Okay.
I think it's a crisis because before COVID-19, we are battling with Lassa fever. And I want to. We have to be cautious because if we now divert all our attention to COVID-19 and all our resources to COVID-19, Lassa cases are all there, and within us, we have not finished the outbreak, Lassa outbreak.
That one is still within Nigeria.
It's still within Nigeria. We are battling with that before this Italian man came. So I have to caution that as we are battling COVID-19, let us not forget that we have Lassa fever outbreak in our hands, and most of the states have had 1 or 2 confirmed cases, and contact tracing is still ongoing for those ones. Do you understand me? So we are in a crisis situation, but let us just not panic and direct our resources accordingly.
Dr. Etang, a few years ago, we had Ebola on our hands, and we were quite successful in containing Ebola. Can we leverage on the structure that we used at the time to contain Ebola to also fight this new threat?
Yeah, the way we combated Ebola, in fact, that's why I'm optimistic that we'll be able to handle this virus.
And at what point, if I may ask, at what point do we combine public sensitization on the do and don'ts, precautions that we could take or we can take, with the issue of stigmatization, I beg your pardon? Because we've started to see a negative trend or some negative trend out there where people are being profiled, unnecessarily profiled, or being profiled for the wrong reasons. At what point do we begin to encourage people to desist from such acts that would make it impossible, almost impossible, for someone who is suspected of having the virus not to want to participate in the process of being tested, of being voluntarily coming out to put themselves forward to confirm whether or not they are indeed infected?
Yeah, that's why we say that this is the time we need to be together instead of being stigmatized. This is the time we need to be unified, because if you stigmatize somebody, just like before now, once you hear that this one has HIV, you just conclude maybe he's a loose fellow. That's why he contacted HIV. But with the level of education and training and retraining, HIV is almost like malaria. Now people go voluntarily for voluntary testing. Once you're okay, you go. If you have it, you start your medication. Before now, to treat HIV, it wasn't that easy, because just as I said before, health is not cheap. There's a lot, especially to do research for you to come out with the vaccines. It requires so much money. That's why even when those vaccines come out, they are always very expensive. So part of what we are doing here now is the same thing we need to cope against stigmatization. And then you too, as NTA, you should be able to bring out jingles on how to cope stigmatization.
Fortunately, in addition to what he has said, that is the essence of NTA.
No, I wanted to make
the correct information.
Sorry, Dr. Austin.
That's why we are here.
Yes, Dr. Austin. Let me quickly let Dr. Etang know that the NTA, as for, I think it was just a few weeks or just a few days, I beg your pardon, after the first incident in China, Wuhan, China, happened, that the NTA came up with jingles and sensitization material on the coronavirus, and that has been on air since then up to now, even as we speak, and we have actually improved and increased our momentum in that direction. Dr. Austin, thank you so much.
Keep it up then.
Dr. Austin,
but you have to tailor it down to different languages.
We're actually very well. We're actually in the process of doing that.
So
and
also let people know that it's not. Most of those emphases are people who travel from outside. It's not just we are here, you've not traveled again. You start coughing or sneezing, you start running away from you.
It's part of the sensitization that we're talking about. Okay. Stigmatization makes contact tracing quite difficult.
Exactly. As well, and that is why we go out to sensitize people, to educate people. Don't stigmatize anybody, because if it goes on the underground, it becomes worse. Do you understand me? Let them come out. It is when they are out, we'll be able to trace those that had contact with the index patient. So it is not wrong for anybody to stigmatize anybody at this point in time. At this point, we don't need it now. But that's why we are carrying out massive sensitization, especially in FCT, health education, both community and health workers.
Well, it's very apparent and clear that this is going to be a capital-intensive venture. I mean, any response plan ordinarily would be. How critical is it that we provide appropriate, adequate, and timely funding for our public agencies as part of our response plan? I'll begin with you.
I think we funding is very critical for whatever you are doing. Even in our environment, what we are giving to health has never reached 5% over the years. Expectedly, it should be up to 15% and above of the budget. But it has never been up to 5%. How much more when you have an outbreak in your hands? Funding is very critical. Health is wealth. It's only a healthy person that will come out and work. If you're not healthy, you cannot do anything. So we have to pay attention to the health of the population. And fund the preparedness activities. Because when you are preparing, it's not only health that is prepared, it's a multi-sectoral approach. Do you understand me? So, and when you are doing, if you don't have fund, you might have everything you want to do, but you don't have funding for it. You won't succeed. So funding is very critical, especially when you have an outbreak. Because at this point in time, you wouldn't want to call for PPE and they tell you there's no PPE. Do you understand me? You wouldn't want to come to the hospital and they tell you there's no functional ventilator or oxygen.
Dr. Eksan, funding.
Yeah, I agree with him. We need increased budgetary allocation to health, especially in this case, this time of emergency. If need be, even if there could be a supplementary budget, just to handle it is very necessary. Because just as I've said, prevention is better than cure. If you have to talk about cure, we'll now start talking of building.
That's even more expensive.
Yeah, building special hospitals, just specifically for this.
An isolation
centers for this case. For those confirmed and those who are just suspected, because you can't keep them together. The ones who have confirmed, they'll be in a different center. The ones you are just suspecting, they'll be in a different center.
Dr. Eksan, made this very clear. Stations like the NTA, a lot of stations, not just the NTA, there are other stations also putting out information out there on coronavirus facts. Things people and practices people should engage in. Some you've already made allusions or you've mentioned. Yeah, there are also misinformations out there as well in the public domain. Are you worried? There are some of them that would say people should go begin consuming some quantity of garlic. There are lots of. What are some of these misguided notions out there that you can easily dismiss for emphasis sake? Just for our viewers to have a better understanding of what they should.
That's one of the ills, maybe advantages and disadvantages of social media. Because you could just sit down from your house, type something and send it viral, and it will go viral. So that is why we are here. If you want to get the correct information, maybe Google Nigerian Center for Disease Control. It will give you everything you need concerning coronavirus. If you need any explanation, anything you don't understand, go to the hospital. You get proper clarification. Other than depending on, you've seen a lot of things go on in social media over this virus.
Dr. Austin, perhaps you may have also heard this, that when you take plenty of water, the water intake helps to push the virus down into the stomach, and that the stomach acid kills off the virus. I mean, there are others.
The water goes into the gastrointestinal tract. This one is respiratory tract. These are different parts to get all together. Do you understand me? But I've said it here that misinformation causes a lot of panic. It makes people to do what they are not supposed to do. And that is why we are here, to educate people, to sensitize them. Look, we don't need that. We don't need misinformation now. Call your expert. Call your doctor, or log into NCDC, or even log into World Health Organization website. You get all the information you need. We don't need. We call this infodemics. That is more misinformation that is causing more panic, more problems than the outbreak we have in our hands.
So perhaps people are reacting to,
and that is why I keep saying we are religious people.
Exactly.
The pastors, the reverend fathers, the imams can help in this.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you understand me? They will sensitize them. When they come to church, you tell them, look, we have this disease at hand. Please, this is what you do. Wash your hands as often as you can. If you don't have running water, get alcohol-based hand rub. Always rub your hand. Cough etiquette, sneezing etiquette. This will go down to the community because they are close to the community. The imams, the pastors, the reverend fathers, everybody should be on board.
It's very important.
This thing happened during Ebola. We were all together.
I was actually going to come to that because there were certain practices at the time that promoted.
Yeah, we fought it together then. This is the time to bring it back. And organizations, like I said, should get a tap water, a wash hand basin, a running water near the security post. Whoever is coming in should wash his or her hand. When you are going out also, do the same thing.
When you go to ATMs, there will be a sanitizer there. Before you use it, at least you use it. After using it, you watch your
So
hands.
there's a lot to do, and involves everyone. And that's why the response is multi-sectoral. It's not just the health. It's multi-sectoral.
Can you try to draw this distinction for us? Because I mean, in the US, we do know that of course it's still being investigated right now, where a patient did not travel to any of the infected communities, and yet we had a case of community spread, and now we have a victim.
Like I said,
in the US, yes.
There is still investigation. The investigation is ongoing to unravel the mystery behind it. Until when the report comes out, we begin to know what is going on. Or if it's not coming out, they definitely
know the real cause of the virus.
Definitely the cause of it will come
it's
out.
From an animal.
There's still investigation going on.
Exactly.
Even the animal where it came from, nobody is sure as we are speaking. But they say it came from animal. Do you understand? But what has been sustaining the transmission is person to person.
Yeah, very true.
So there are a lot of things are ongoing. Research is ongoing to unravel the mystery behind this.
We had Ebola, yes. We battled Ebola. We've successfully won the fight against Ebola. How optimistic are you that the current...
That is even why we are very optimistic.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because we have the expertise.
Yes.
We have the will.
Yeah, very important.
Our surveillance system is great. Our surveillance system is great. The management team is doing fine. At least the Italian man in Lagos is doing fine. All those that had contact with him, we know them, have been traced.
So there is absolutely no need for panic right now.
There's no need for panic. The only problem we'll have is if any of those people that had contact with him, if we're unable to get all of them. But we have them. They are being followed up.
Even there's this one in Plateau State, no? It's because of the sensitization. People were able to know that those people traveled and came back. And then they need to be checked.
Exactly.
It's because everybody is now know that this is what is going on. That's why there was that uproar. These people went for holiday and they just came back. Until they now realized, okay, they were actually tested.
All right, gentlemen, let's get your final words now before we let you go. We'll start with you, Dr. Etang. I mean, in light of all we've talked about and some of the realities on ground, you also made allusions to the ideal, what should be done in terms of practice now. I mean, what would you say to Nigerians basically as we look forward to winning this fight against coronavirus here in Nigeria?
I think what I would just say is we should not panic. The different agencies involved and on top of their games. Then we as individuals, everybody should just try to observe that high level of hygiene, proper hand washing, where you can avoid crowded places. But then prevention is better than cure. Now that we don't have cases, it's better for us to prevent it as much as we can than when we shall start having cases we cannot really know where they are coming from. Because the way Nigeria is, this virus is capable of wiping a whole system. It's capable because since it's transmitted from human to human, if it comes like the way our markets are, if one person has it, you can imagine how it will go. So our emphasis should really be based on the prevention, preventive measures. Which I believe we are
preventive measures, Dr. Austin. Please help us do a quick rundown.
Preventive measures. Yes. We need to prepare. We need to prepare. High level of preparedness. Because whether we like it or not, outbreak will always come. It will always come. But to the extent of its mortality or morbidity depends on how prepared we are. If we say that outbreak will never come again, it will surely come. But the bottom line is for us to always get prepared, be on top of our game.
Dr. Oxley, you're a public health physician, and in the course of our discussion, you brought out the issue of Lassa fever and why we shouldn't ignore that. Let me quickly ask you this. What is the challenge with Lassa fever? Because this is a disease we seem to, which happens or reoccurs year in, year out, here in Nigeria. It happened last year, and then this year with a higher mortality rate. Why have we not been able to put that in check, considering the amount of information that we have out there? Is it that we're not managing or properly managing the health information and records that we have?
For the cases we've had, we are managing them very well. Case fatality rate last year was like 2.5%. The case fatality rate for this year has been between 1.4 to 1.7, which means are you
saying it's on the decline?
Yeah, it's on the decline. But the thing is that what sustains this disease now is behavioral. Behavioral in the sense that bush burning, we don't keep our environment clean and becomes a dwelling for the rats. Our people spread food stuff on the road. Rats will come and we'll have a field day on top of the food. The next day, the woman will pack everything and go to the market.
How is that likely to impact on coronavirus? Because if you say it's behavioral, sometimes it might even be a factor of it's a factor of our environment, urbanization.
Yeah.
Take Lagos for instance.
It's urban. If you notice recently, most of the diseases we're having are zoonotic. That is coming from animal.
Yes.
Could be as a result of urbanization and industrialization. We are going close to their habitat. Or is that the virus is a living thing, is mutating?
Yes.
And become more virulent than what we used to know? Or is it climate change? These are things permutations that people are putting in. And that is why I said outbreak will always come, whether we like it or not. But the level of preparedness will reduce the mortality and the
I noticed you wanted to add something, Dr. Etan.
Yeah, it's just the last of I think it's more behavioral, because the way we live in Nigeria.
We're trying to draw linkages now between the Lassa and the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's the Lassa fever I'm talking about. It comes from it comes from rat. At least this one is established. You know where it comes from. You know where it comes from.
Yes,
so all you need to do is have to try as much as possible to avoid rats, which is difficult in Nigeria. If you don't, living where we are, if you don't infect this place, you might just see a rat pass by. Most houses are like that. And those rats go to the kitchen, feed some food. Most of the rice we use, they spread it all over. Rats come in all over. So somehow it might be difficult to really curb the issue of Lassa fever, because in the hospital, it's only cases that are already that are brought to the hospital. Even when you treat those ones, you don't know when the next one is coming from.
Okay, but
it's unlike mosquito, where you say malaria. Okay, try as much as possible to avoid mosquito. Use mosquito nets or
gentlemen, you're the experts here, and I want for you to draw this linkage, and I will let you go until you help me establish. Dr. Austin already alluded to the fact that part of the challenge we have with Lassa is because of some behavioral practices by members of the public that has made it stay or overstayed, or keeps prolonging Lassa fever. Isn't it possible that can play up with coronavirus as well? Because come to think of it, hygiene can be a behavioral practice.
It can be behavioral. That could be easily handled, because if you hear it's COVID-19 or coronavirus, everybody will get agitated.
Is it not because it's new and people are more anxious over things that they do not understand?
If you discover that, okay, we have discovered that this coronavirus comes from ice fish, but no Nigerian will eat ice fish again because you know where it's coming from. But the problem now, you're trying to between Lassa fever and coronavirus. Coronavirus, we are yet to know the animal
that is coming from.
On a more serious note, gentlemen, just before I let you go, and I'm saying this for a second time, I understand that, but now I do mean it, and very quickly too. Are you very optimistic, Dr. Austin?
I'm optimistic that this outbreak, we will get out of it. We will get out of it. But outbreak will always, I will continue to say it, outbreak will always come. Let us continue to get prepared for more outbreaks. And while we are battling COVID, let us not forget that we have Lassa and other epidemic-prone diseases around us.
Dr. Etan, for a second time, your final word?
Yeah, I'm optimistic, though I believe government can still do better.
When you say do better, what exactly do you mean? More money?
Yeah, more money. Up to now, if you go to some hospitals still don't have sanitizers all over. I'm not even talking of agencies or offices. Some hospitals still go there and they are still living or working the way they work. Safe work practice is very important.
Precaution
is very important.
Paramount now. It's very important.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been an enlightening one for me particularly. I want to believe that our viewer would also have gleaned one or two things from what we've talked about here today. Dr. Austin Ajugo is a public health... Ajugo, I beg your pardon, is a public health physician. Thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Thank you.
Dr. Etan Philip Omini, incidentally, you share the same surname as a colleague of mine out there that works in NTA. He is the former national president of the Medical Imaging Society of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on Insight as well. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. We hope to bring you back another time to speak more, not just on coronavirus, but of course other public health ailments and situations in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming. Well, that's it for this segment. Up next is the media review segment with Elizabeth Omoruyi.
Thanks for joining us on the media review segment of the program. Of course, the coronavirus disease, also known as COVID-19, has spread to different parts of the country, Nigeria inclusive. But the big question is, what will be the role of the media in complementing the efforts of the government to contain the spread of the disease? My guest, Rabi Abdallah, head NTA Health Desk, will provide answers. It's nice to have you on the program.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, let's begin with anxiety and apprehension. Do Nigerians really understand the mode of transmission of the disease?
I guess they do, if you ask me, because we have been able to enlighten the public to the best of our ability. As you all know, the experts have said it's a new virus. That's why it's called the novel coronavirus. It's new, and based on the information made available to the members of the fourth estate of the realm, I think we're making do with what's available to us in terms of letting people know about how the virus is transmitted. For instance, we've had instances where experts have said, oh, it's not airborne. Some have said, no, it's airborne, but it's just that it's more dangerous when it's about the droplets. For instance, if you have a cough and you cough out from the sputum or you sneeze, so you can transmit that through that droplet. So, and that's why we're being told to educate people on the need to imbibe precautions. For it starts with the individual, because you need to protect yourself and of course protect others. So such that if you have a cold, or even if it's the common cold, when you have to cough or sneeze, protect others. And they are saying, do not cough into your hands, And of course, if you have to cough into your handkerchief, keep it away from others and wash it accordingly, okay? They've even demonstrated how people should cough into their elbows, and just cough into it. And all of those information have been given to, to the public for their own benefits.
Okay, now, since December last year, have we done enough in sensitizing Nigerians?
Elizabeth,
What methods have we used? Features?
We've
specials,
done
jingles?
Honestly, without meaning to really blow our trumpet, I think the media has done extremely well. And I can speak for my own constituency. The NTA really had been a trailblazer in this regard, because ever since, in fact, right from when it started in China, and it became, and up to the point it was declared emergency of a public emergency of global concern, we've been there. We've had jingles. The jingles are still running. We've done series of reports. We've even done documentaries. We've done series of programs, and of course, at various intervals, you see the jingles that will run. Just, all towards making sure that everybody is kept abreast of happenings. And the bottom line is just to ensure that this COVID-19 does not wreak havoc on us as a people. And you see, as government is making its own effort towards that, it now bounds on every individual to play his or her role effectively, and I think the media has done tremendously well in that regard.
Now, you are a very key player in the health sector. Do we have enough equipment to detect the virus?
Well, if you ask me, I'm going to
starting from the points of entry.
Yes, but maybe not really. There's nothing wrong in improving on what is available.
Okay.
But from what they have said, we have, what the major entry points are. Talking about the airports now, the 5 international airports, talking about the one in Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Abuja. They are there. And from what they have said, the 3 airports, that's talking about Lagos, Abuja, and especially Lagos and Abuja. The standard of of equipment, may not be up to what we have in Kano and the others. But we've told over and over again that a lot have been done and is still being done to upgrade and ensure that, these entry points have what it takes to screen, effectively.
Yes. Now, there's the issue of stereotyping. A black man sees a white man, the black man is afraid. There's an attitude problem. How do we correct that?
You mean in this regard?
Yes.
Okay, like we've been told much earlier on, and you see, it has come to play out. The minister had warned against profiling.
Yes.
The fact that China is epicenter does not mean that every Chinese man you see is a carrier of the virus. Exactly. So we've been told not to. Maybe send out messages or even exhibit attitude as a people that connotes stigmatization or whatever, because like I see, disease is no color. Yes, it was first reported in China, but of course what had happened. Diseases know no boundaries or borders. So the virus has spread even beyond the expectations of medical experts. It has, we're talking about such today. 54 or 53 countries. You understand? So a white man looking at a black man or a black man looking at a white man and is seeing him with the eyes of someone carrying the coronavirus doesn't make sense. Like we've seen, we've even had instances where people were saying, the black skin is immune to it. It's not true.
Now, I was coming to that. How true is that?
It's not true. I had the Director General of the West African Health Organization, that's Professor Stanley Okolo, on my program, and he had said it's not true. It is not true. It's just like saying the white man cannot come down with the common cold, or a black man cannot come with the common cold. You understand? We have the same lungs, don't we?
Of course.
We have the same respiratory tract. So what are we talking about? They develop fever just like we do. So these things I don't think have anything to do with color. And it's been said over and over again. I think it's just ignorance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for anyone with familiar symptom of COVID-19, what should we do? What should the person do? Or what should the people around do?
Okay, the advisory had been there. Of course, it starts from the entry point, majorly around travelers coming into countries. Like, for instance, travelers coming into Nigeria. That's why they have said, it's not that they ruled out maybe importation through others, entry points. Like,
borders.
Yes, borders, like the borders and whatever. But like it's been said over and over again, it's the easiest way it could come is through flying. You know, it's for people, you know, flying into the country, and that's exactly what happened. You know, it had, you know, that fear had been confirmed. The index case is about, you know, the Italian who flew into the country, and that's what we're dealing with right now. And if you know, ask me, going back to this same question, the people knowing what to do starts with you coming in as a traveler. You understand? You should know yourself. If you have fever, that's in addition to the screening, you know, that takes place at the airport, you know, to see whether you have high fever, because those are some of the things the officials are looking out for. Right. And of course, it's not about saying, oh, I have fever, and you know, maybe because the temperature you were having, maybe when you got into the country, it's not one that one should be suspicious of, and as such you were allowed to go. But of course, if you get to your destination and you observe something abnormal, the warning is, rather than indulging in self-medication, go to the nearest health facility and have yourself checked. And the moment you successfully, you know, that action of the needful should begin with you. Making sure you are in self-isolation. It might turn out not to be, but keep yourself away from others, so that when eventually whatever is wrong with you has been established, it might not cause, you know, much harm. Yes.
Okay. Now, some don't even want to share.
And it was a good thing that this Italian did just that.
Of course.
Yes. And of course, the proactiveness of our health officials, the hospital that attended to him, is quite commendable. Because as at now, that's the only case we still have to do that we're dealing with now. And as a health journalist, my wish and prayer is that we keep it at that level, and keeping it at that level. I don't want the pendulum to swing to the direction whereby, as a health journalist, I start reeling out new cases or death tolls. God forbid. I'm not looking forward to that. And you know, ensuring that entails all and sundry living up to his responsibility.
Okay. All right, Madam Rabi Abdallah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you very
Elizabeth,
much
for having me.
Don't forget, be alert. Fighting COVID-19 is everybody's business.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain.
Suspect anyone with a symptom of the disease, please report to the nearest primary health care center in your area. This is very important, and do not raise false alarm. It's very important. Indeed, there are many facts out there. Please stick with the facts. Until we come your way next week, I am Namdi Odipo. And I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you next week.